All right, welcome back for our second feature match for week 6 here, final week of MKM League. And we got hopefully what's going to be a good one here with a new player to our league, Chris D, Stereolab, adding to the list of Chris's we have on the server. And he's going to be playing Matthias, who's our number one overall leader right now and had a very impressive showing the other day in the feature match for week 5. So Evan is going to be filling in here for the last two matches tonight, and he's about to tell us what Matthias has after that mulligan.
Yeah, so he started off with just a single island in the other hand, so couldn't keep that. Bottom to land. The rest of the cards in his hand are one island, an escape tunnel, mountain, a detective satchel, and a Loxodon eavesdropper.
Yeah, so he's got a pretty good. He's got a teamer deck, so pretty straight use of all the colors. I think he's more green and red, but he has quite a lot of blue cards, and we did see a few of his value engines the other day, including the case of the hot house. He has an Itali, he has an Analyze the Pollen, which can go get a bunch of those things. He has the 6/6 dragon, so he's got some good stuff. But Chris also has some good stuff because he's lining up an Ezram coming up. He has two islands in hand
All
and the
right.
Ezram Agency Chief in hand. So
Ooh, this is some pretty sweet value here.
yeah. So what did you do? Put two lands into play? Oh no, I'll put one land from hand and one land from graveyard. Yeah.
Yes,
All
exactly.
right.
The
So
escape tunnel providing some clear value.
yeah. So Chris is just gonna play his novice instructor. He drew a card and it's a projector inspector. So it looks like we're looking at a pretty straightforward detectives deck over here
Mhm.
from Chris with white and blue. I don't know if there's red cards. He does have the land there, but often you just play those for the surveil. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't. Does does Matthias have anything for this Ezram?
Not really. I mean, there's some sweet value engines. The morph right now is an exit specialist,
Okay,
so um, if Ezram comes down without the land developing first, which I don't know why that would ever happen, but potentially Ezram could be bounced. Though with the two clues on ETB, I'm not sure that
yep,
Rezwa would take that option. The rest of the hand is Forensic Researcher and Detective Satchel,
okay.
which is a great combo when you get two Thopters
Hmm,
per clue
I like it.
stat. But I don't know that there's going to be anything that's going to really be protecting versus this detective onslaught. So far, it just looks like premium detectives is what
Yeah.
Stereo Labs got going on.
So Matthias might be terrified here when he sees that Chris is about to potentially discard a private eye because he's got an island and two private eyes to go with the Ezram in hand. So I
Mm,
assume he's just going to go
that
island, play the
is
private eye,
crazy.
and then he'll get something unblockable. So the
And sorry, I mentioned just two cards, right, of the three. The last one is your boy,
yeah,
Loxodon
yeah,
Eavesdropper.
you mentioned him at the outset. One thing I know Matthias has that can come back from this is three copies of ill-timed explosion in his deck. So if
Yes.
he can find one, it would not be ill-timed for him. It would be right on time if he could find that soon, because even without the Ezram, it's like look at what's going on here.
Yeah. Do you know if, other than the Itali, if he's playing other things that can, pick off a 6/6 Ezram through the wipe? Like, are there six cost cards that you know of in Resred's deck? Because otherwise, he'll be clearing everything but the Ezram. And, it's not bad, but it's
Yeah, well,
also
yeah,
potentially a
well, the
weak
ill-timed explosion lets
situation.
you discard two cards, so you have to combine stuff. I think he's playing Vengeful Creeper. I know he's playing Offender at Large as a 5 cost that you could play for 3 and get in the graveyard. But again, he'd have to use 2 cards to kill off the Ezram. But I mean, he has to draw that first. Right now, it's very
Yeah.
much Chris here in control of this one. And it,
Notably, however, ill-timed explosion is the greatest mana value among the cards discarded.
oh,
You
okay.
still have to discard two cards no matter what, but it doesn't combine them.
Oh, it's okay. It's only one. Okay, I don't know. I've never cast the card.
Yeah,
He would know though.
yeah, I've gotten fucked over by thinking that. One time I got fucked over by thinking it was both of them, and then the other time I got fucked over by thinking basically I'm just a bad player. Is what I'm
Oh
saying.
boy.
But I got messed
So
up
so
because
many
I
F
thought
words.
you, yeah, I thought you could only
All right.
you didn't have to choose to discard both when you discarded. Oh man,
Okay, so we got a
this is
galvanize here, and I mean the unicorn is not nothing special, but galvanize here. All right.
pretty special.
I mean, Matthias can attempt to tap the Ezreal if he wants. It'll make Chris waste a clue, I suppose, if he wants to give his thing hexproof.
Yeah, and I think that's what he will have to do.
Yeah, auspicious arrival off the top here. So what was a very very good start from Chris is like Matthias has a lot of comeback power in his deck. And it kind of just happens out of nowhere, like with one card, right? Like Incinerator of the Guilty, Etali, Ill-Timed Explosion. Like he just has these cards that could just by themselves just change the entire face of the game.
Hmm.
Right? He says, "No, I'm
But
hexproof.
so can Ezra.
I want to be hexproof." So he's just going to attack here. He says, "Let me try and get my opponent dead real quick here before Etali can do any more damage." 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, no, he's not in flipping Italy territory just yet. But I
Not too
have
far
seen
off
him do
though.
that, and it does win more or less on the spot.
Ooh, galvanize off the top is a wonderful
All
draw.
right, well, the auspicious arrival in hand could save this investigator. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna have
So these Thopters are going to provide a steady stream of chump blockers for these flyers.
yeah.
While I mean, while and Natalia's going to get to work here, so Matthias is at 4 and facing down lethal every turn potentially. But
Hmm.
another nice draw here, intrude on the mind. So lots of good cards here for Chris. I mean, we talked about Matthias being in first place. Chris is currently in the he was in the top 8 to start the week, I believe, but he did lose a match to drop him out. But he's at 16 wins, which is a good place to be coming into the last week. And
Super solid.
and that's even with not an entropy loss, but an overplay loss. He got excited 1 week and played 6 matches. So he actually, he had a he's lost 9 matches proper, but is at 10 losses. All right, Ezram is going to get tapped, or is it?
Gonna be forcing
Yeah,
hexproof
this is
here.
like not where you want to be with the clue sacking, but I mean, yeah, in order to attack, he needs to do it.
Yeah.
And Matthias will run out of evidence at some point. You know, But the question is, will he kill his opponent with a tally first? So is it 10
This is a very
plus?
tense
Is
game
it 10 plus a Phyrexian mana
for
to flip the
Tali.
tally? Because we're getting into that range. But what Matthias doesn't know is that there's a surprise flyer coming on the other side.
Let's see. Tali Primal Conqueror. 9 plus a Phyrexian.
Okay, so 10 total. Okay.
What it Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So with an untapped land this turn, he could have actually done it
Yeah.
because he has the forensic researcher. Well, in comes the tally. Chris is just gonna have to take it and hope his intrude on the mind finds him what he needs to close this out before this big scary dinosaur does him in.
Well, I mean, at least face up he has lethal, right?
All right. So a couple of all will be one cards being revealed here.
Hmm. Mirex. I wonder if Resray has a not sorry, not Resray, Stereo if Chris has a case of the pilfered proof to go along with that.
Hmm. Don't know.
Phyrexian Might and a clue every turn is a worthwhile investment for 3
Very
mana.
good. Serum Snare, I believe, was just a bounce spell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's returned.
MV less than 3, proliferate.
Okay, so just a bounce spell, really.
Yeah. And so Matthias, he's got single land in hand. So with things being what they are, and of course, Chris does the smart thing and splits 2 and 3 so that he can make sure that all his attackers are lethal. Oh, wow.
Dang. Okay.
Pretty sweet.
All right.
So
That changes things.
that definitely does change things.
So Chris does have a
And
loot
now,
here. He has a projector inspector to loot, but
yeah,
he's in big time danger here with the Itali.
yeah. So, I mean, provided they can flip. Hmm, no, but I guess even with the flip,
I mean, it
uh,
still has trample, right? Even on the
yeah.
backside, and it
But
still
I
deals
think the
normal. It
idea
still
would be
deals
that,
normal damage too. It's not infect.
yeah,
He can gain life here. Yeah. Okay.
gonna have to.
Then he has follow up. The follow up of a couple of ground creatures here. When Projector Inspector and the known revealed analyst and his island and a plains now. But I mean, if he just flips the Itali, that looks like it'll be pretty done. It's 11 power trample.
Yeah, that does seem to be the case.
Okay, so
Has to pay it fully because the Phyrexian
yes,
mana would kill him.
yeah. Phyrexian mana not an option. So if he attacks all, 7, no, yeah, he can't survive here.
Yeah,
He
even
can
even
take
just the neighborhood
he
guardian
can take 10.
and
That's
the Tully.
he can take 10. That's the I believe the lowest amount he can take here.
Yeah,
Well, big scary dinosaur does big scary killing, I guess. One dinosaur versus a team of flyers. Well, the forensic researcher helped out here with the tapping,
yeah.
or at least
Forensic researcher is a great card.
yeah. Like I said,
Really is.
Chris got off to a roaring start, but Matthias has these one-off cards that you could just cast and it warps the game. Whether it's the board wipe or the big bombs up at the top of the curve, um, just absolutely take over the game in a very scary fashion here. And yeah, we got the
Hmm.
full white blue detectives here: quad projector inspector, triple private eye, double Wojek investigator. Only one novice inspector though, sadly. And he does have the pilfered proof that you brought up before.
And in the previous game, some very well timed galvanizes. They came right when they needed to.
That helps too. Matthias will not be complaining about that. So yeah, I think the only creature in the deck that's not detective is Dog Walker and Neighborhood Guardian.
Mm.
Looks like everything else is a detective.
So, noting the power of Wojek Investigator, the Thopter token, Ezram, and seeing the makeshift binding, Matthias has wisely chosen to side in a Pick Your Poison for some mana efficient dealing with these removals or threats.
Yeah, seems good. There's even a fourth makeshift binding that Chris is opted not to put in his deck.
Very interesting.
Oh, I suppose that there's another creature he has that's not technically. It does not trigger your detective ETB cards, but it becomes a detective later in the 10th district hero.
Hmm.
It won't trigger your projector inspector, but it it still does the job.
And I have to say, it's quite fun to have this similar sensibilities in Planeswalker profile picture.
Yeah, we got
Just
the
Soren,
dueling Soren.
Soren mirror match.
Dueling Sorens. Unfortunately, we get a mulligan here, but an okay looking hand here for Chris that we'll go over in a moment. What's Matthias working with?
I mean, Chris is gonna have to put the foot on the gas pedal a bit because he's facing down ill-timed explosion, detective satchel, case of the locked hothouse, and Itali, and a nervous gardener.
Okay.
Next turn will be, it will help keep the mana flowing
All right.
and be a worthwhile more fun three.
So we got Projector Inspector here, which is almost assuredly Chris's three drop of choice on turn three.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, he did have the reasonable doubt that I'm sure he was really hoping to nab something with on turn two because he's not really going to have a chance to deploy it over the next few turns. But Private Eye
Right.
is coming down, which this is a very good combo. Projector and Private Eye. If you've played MKM Draft, you know how this goes. Uh, it's a trigger every turn for the Private Eye.
Yeah. Speaking of projector inspectors, Matthias has drawn his own projector
Yeah,
inspector
yeah.
and is ready.
Yeah, so Chris, unfortunately unable to hit lands here. He has 10th District Hero, Market Watch Phantom, previously mentioned Reasonable Doubt, and an Ezram as well. And he's drawn a Projector Inspector, so he should be able to now find his lands with double
Okay,
looting
that's great.
here. Yeah, you like to see a focused synergy deck here in Week 6. You don't end up seeing too many of those in League a lot of the time. It's usually
Mm-hmm.
just people are trying to do aggro or they're trying to just play all their best cards and go over the top. But
Yeah,
this
I
is just
mean,
a solid, just detectives deck. Just has most of the pieces that you would want.
right.
Yeah,
Though to be fair, blue white can be pretty aggressive, and it seems like maybe there's been some mana problems this game, but it seems like the average the average draw for Chris is a decent curve out, right? Full of detectives.
yeah. Well, he has like multiple copies of a lot of the key cards, so more likely to find them every game. And
Yeah.
here comes the gardener, getting some more lands here. Looks like Matthias is just doing exactly what he's looking to do with his deck, which is keep
Yep,
his
pretty
life total
much.
reasonably high, make sure his opponent doesn't get him too low, but he has the board wipe, set up his mana, and just play some crazy thing that's going to win the game.
Mhm.
I've seen this before.
And you're likely to be seeing it again. Has opted to keep a land on top, which makes sense given case in hand and Atali. I'm actually a little bit surprised that he opted to put out the projector inspector right now, but I guess maintaining that life total is quite important,
Yeah,
even though he could have been accelerating his mana a little bit.
yeah. So
Uh,
it's been over 2 years since Cody Race set the record with 25 wins, and this is the closest I can remember somebody being in Week 6 at 22 and five to tie it. So
right.
he's extra motivated by that, I'm sure, because he entered the week
Hmm.
with 20 wins, so he entered the week guaranteed to make top eight basically. So now he's just trying to just rack up the points here and distance himself from the others in the top eight.
Yeah, potentially might even be able to secure a Mega Draft victory if the bottom seed ends up meeting him in the finals,
Potentially,
depending
yeah.
on the points spread, right?
Yeah, so case of Locked Hawk House. I mean, we saw him playing this the other time. We saw this in an earlier feature match in an earlier week from Oompa Loompa, and we know this card just it gets you. If the game goes to reasonable lengths, you've probably drawn five, six, seven, or more cards off of it, as well as being able to put two lands, which I think is kind of the key thing about the card. Is like even if you hit a land clump of two, it's like you just get to keep going, and those lands let you
Yeah,
cast more things. It's just everything all in one.
it's pretty disgusting
Yeah,
for sure. For sure, it's pretty disgusting.
yeah, like
Um,
yeah,
and on top of the deck is a surveillance monitor
okay,
that is primed to go.
yeah. Normally, like a limiting factor with those type of cards is like when you hit a clump of lands, it's just you get stuck, but not quite this
Yeah,
one. All right, so I mean, he's doing his part here. I think he's just gonna try and make his creature indestructible, perhaps. No.
mhm.
Oh, he's thinking about bouncing the hothouse here with his serum snare. just to deny the value
Hmm.
here. But I
Seems like a
think
mistake.
he's leaving up the mana for Maleva
Yeah, definitely.
to save the Maleva potentially.
Definitely makes sense to just put the bounce or make sure that the bounce is there so that you can.
All right, well, here's an
This
ill-time
is good.
explosion. X is the
Yeah,
greatest mana value among cards discarded this way. Oh, I thought it was the combined mana cost. Okay. I now know
yeah,
what this card does. I don't think I've ever had it in a deck, and I did like 50 drafts. It just never came across. It just never came by me when I was playing those colors.
yeah.
But it's very
What's
good.
interesting here is that
Poor Itali.
they're gonna be getting rid of Itali. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not entirely certain how much I like this move because part of the draw was galvanize, right?
Yeah.
So could have pitched something a little less worthwhile and then used galvanize to finish off.
All right.
Um,
So
at the very least, galvanize can pick off potentially Chris's next play,
yeah,
but to just throw away a big bomb like that, I guess hothouse, it can recover any sort of lost value there.
it makes sense.
But
He's now deciding what he wants to use the
yeah,
serum snare on, and he's moused over both Beleva and the hothouse here. He says, "You know what? It's it's unfortunate, but my creatures are dead." But he
yeah,
does have Ezram here as last card in hand, hoping that
it's very
hoping
good.
that Matthias doesn't have anything for it, and that bouncing the hothouse will give him less looks at outs potentially.
Yeah, and I mean, it even saved a bit of tempo here because had the hothouse remained on the battlefield, Crocodile is the draw this turn, which means last turn, Crocodile could have been used morphed, right?
Yeah,
Or cloaked. And that Crocodile would have been able to attack into Ezram,
yeah.
at least just to threaten a bit.
So just a note about Matthias's deck building here, like you hear cards like Undercover Crocodile, Offender at Large, like cards that you wouldn't be expecting somebody atop the standings to be running in week 6, but it goes with the ill-timed explosion, right? So when it's in your hand, oh dear. So when it's in your hand, you can discard it to the ill-timed explosion. But if you just want to cast it for 3, you can cast it for 3. So it's not like a 6-drop rotting in your hand. So very shrewd deck building by Matthias. Again, utilizing cards that you wouldn't expect normally to see in week 6, right?
Right.
Like most decks are
Yeah.
going to have passed by the time when they wanted cards like that. But he has a very good reason, right? It looks like one person has a hothouse and the other person made a 1/1 token.
Seems fair.
Yeah, that pick your
Good and
poison
fair.
was extremely timely there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it,
Right
it
on
it
time.
helps to find the right cards at the right time. Well, he's going to try and poison him here, I guess.
Yeah.
So we got an exit. We
Doesn't
got an exit
seem.
specialist hiding under the
Oh
discards
man,
there. Oh,
double Thopters here.
yeah, looks good. I'm telling you, yeah, Matthias. I've got to know him a little bit, I guess, by chatting with him in the voice chat, and very, very good player. Very, very makes a lot of smart decisions. Like he was playing a match just earlier this evening, and he looked at his opponent's pool and saw that they had two push pull, and he was ahead in the game. He played the surveillance monitor. He just removed all his creatures from his own graveyard just to. He was enough ahead. He says,
Nice.
"Well, I don't need them for. I'm just gonna." So I think there were 4 or 5 creatures. He just said, "I'm getting rid of all of them. I want to give him less options if he
Yeah.
does have that in hand." And that's like normally not a thought that would pass through the majority of players' heads. But he
Yeah.
said, look, he has that. That's the difference sometimes between winning a game and losing a game. His opponent didn't have the push pull, but if they did, that would have been a big, big deal.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a lot of average players that would have missed such a line.
Yeah. Well,
On
well,
top of Matthias's deck is ill-timed explosion. So in the crazy situation where you tell me like, oh, Chris has a White Sun's Twilight or something, even that would not be enough
He definitely
to
does.
recover through this game.
Yeah. I mean, for one, most players don't. I don't know. I don't know if I'd say most, but I know a lot of players would don't have their opponent's pools open while they're playing. But it's public information, so it can only help you to do it.
Right.
All right. Well, here
Man,
comes an
going
onslaught of
on a
cards.
rip roaring.
Yeah. I mean,
The morph is a nervous gardener,
yeah.
but not going to flip that up because on top of the deck is an incinerator of
Oh,
the
sure. Why
guilty.
not?
Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
not that this
Yeah.
matters
Two
much.
lands in hand here for Chris. So very noble effort in his first league with us here, making it to week 6, and
Right.
but it looks
Was this a
like
death match?
it's an elimination match for Chris. Yes.
Ah,
So he came into the week
well,
16-9, but it appears he dropped the match at the beginning of the evening. And we see Matthias continue his trek towards potential record setting here. Just, we know what Hot House does. We know what a lot of the other cards do. So congratulations to Matthias for eliminating Chris here in our second feature match of the night. We'll be back a little bit later for our final match of the evening.